I'm sure, we are a day before the historic peace agreement in ceremony between Israel and Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates, and I'm sure as a man who's advocated for peace for so long, you'd like to congratulate, or do you?
Well, of course I'm for peace, and I'm for peace between Israel and every country in the world. But let us be frank with ourselves. The conflict Israel has is not with Bahrain or with the Emirates. We have an issue with the Palestinians. And if we want to change our situation in the Middle East, we have to solve this issue. This is, for me, the main issue and the main focus. Maybe it will help, but maybe, what Netanyahu tries to say through this deal is to try to persuade Israelis that we can, just ignore the Palestinians and continue without them. And that is, I think, a very, very dangerous way.
But are you happy with the agreements? Like, they're not bad, I guess. So,
well, these are agreements with corrupt Arab regimes.
Like all Arab regimes.
Most of them, like most of Arab regimes, but the issue of peace is more than a deal with this prince or that dictator. The challenge of peace is to create real change in the relationship between people. And if we ignore the Palestinians, if we ignore the Palestinian issue, then we do not really move forwards towards peace, but we continue to quarrel with our neighbors, and quarreling with our neighbors means actually wars. More wars. They can be small war in Gaza, or medium war in Lebanon, or a big war with Syria, but these are real dangers for Israeli society and Israeli future.
Isn't it trying to put the carriage before the horse to change the relationship between people? Because, don't you first want to have some kind of just agreement to live side by side, and then the relationships can start building?
Yes, I go along with you. I think that in order to change the relations between people, you have to have a deal between leaders. That is, of course, a first step. But the deal we need is an Israeli-Palestinian deal, and not a deal that ignores the Palestinians and just,
But we've been trying for so long.
Did we? This is a big question, and it's a real debate. Many people in Israel still believe that back in 2000, Barak really offered the Palestinians everything, and they were not willing to accept. But the facts being revealed since then actually shows us that Barak offered the Palestinians something they could not really accept. The deal he offered them was not acceptable for them. In order for a deal to be viable, it have to be, just for the two sides. It have to be, both sides have to win something in this deal.
What would you see as a viable deal? Like, what would we have to offer them in order for them to...
Well, the basis for a real deal between Israelis and Palestinians is two states for the two nations. Now, the Palestinian state should be in the territories occupied by Israel in 1967, including the eastern part of Jerusalem. The eastern part of Jerusalem should be the capital of Palestine. And there is a room for an agreement on exchange of territory. There can be some kind of swap that Israel can gain some territory and give up another territory to the Palestinians. But the basis should be the 67 Green Line.